Welcome to the Quota podcast. I'm Dylan Fole.
I'm Gavin Malcolm.
Our guests tonight are Trey Herrera and Trey and Viv Herrera. Why did I?
No, espera.
Herrera. From the top.
From the top.
From the top.
Take two. Welcome to the Quota podcast. I'm Dylan Fole.
I'm Gavin Malcolm.
Our guests tonight are Trey and Viv Herrera.
I love it. Yes.
These two are incredible. They're adorable and sweet, and they're so full of life, and we can't wait for you guys to hear their crazy antics. Enjoy. Trey,
right.
I think you're perfect the way you are. Don't listen to her.
Appreciate it.
Because you're amazing.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, you about to sing in here? Uh-oh, karaoke.
About to get lit.
Have you guys if you guys ever have like full-blown karaoke, she will end up singing the whole time and hogging the mic.
I love singing. Even like
challenges.
We were talking about it. We have to go to
the soapbox.
Voice box.
Voice
the
box,
soapbox.
soapbox.
Yeah, we're going to go to the soapbox, man. We're going to go teach people a lesson.
Yeah, we need to schedule that. I forgot. We were talking about it a week or two ago.
We would karaoke at her parents' house, and like she goes nuts the whole night.
If I was I'll be drunk as fuck at my parents' house, and then we'll all karaoke. My mom was drunk.
She
that
says
day.
we all, but
What's your
she's the
favorite
hot.
song in Spanish to karaoke?
My favorite song in Spanish to karaoke.
Because I tried that one time. My buddy is a karaoke DJ.
Oh,
and,
I'll
Spanish
show it to
bars,
you.
and it went horribly wrong.
No, just give us, show us like 10 seconds. Do 10 seconds.
Oh my god.
Hit us.
I hate being in the spot. Wait, are we recording already?
Yeah.
We've been recording this time.
Gotcha.
No! You guys, you better cut that ear thing off. Anyway.
Shout out to Viv's ears.
We're gonna cut ears off.
Yeah. We out here chopping
This is
ears,
some of the
bro.
best stuff, though.
No! Okay,
Hey, Dylan secretly made eye contact with me, and I knew. I was like, oh. I instantly clicked in my head, so I just let it go.
Yeah, this is not even cool.
Well, yeah, there's no way for us to press play from inside the room, so.
How do you press play?
In the other room.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's get into a good subject, though. Let's see. What you want to
Let's
talk
talk
about?
about ear sizes.
Let's talk about insecurities.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm down. Let's just have a safe, vulnerable space that we can all talk about our problems.
Yeah.
It gets all serious
Yeah.
in here.
Oh man.
Wait, no, but isn't like our guest star Trey? Or like
No,
it's you guys.
You're in here now.
I've been the
Yeah,
one
you're
talking
in
the
it.
whole time. Like you guys.
That's amazing.
We have plenty of time.
I know.
We have
Alright.
I bet
another hour and
Viv and I could talk for a full hour and a half.
Yes,
and
like-
neither
No
of you-
breaks. No
No
breaks. No breaths taken.
Yeah.
you probably wouldn't even each stop. You both talk at the same time.
And you'd still understand each other. That'd
Yeah.
be the funny part.
We're on the same level.
Yes.
Oh,
We get it.
I know. It's a curse.
It's a curse. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a curse and it's like what's the opposite of
gift
curse?
and a curse.
Oh yeah, it's a gift and a curse at the same time.
That Jay-Z album.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, it is.
Awesome. Well, today's guests, we have Trey and Viv Herrera. They have been...
Excuse me?
Viviana.
I know. How do you pronounce the last name?
Oh, you know I can't roll an R.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Herrera, por favor.
Oh, all right. Today's guests, we have Trey and Viv Herrera.
Oh, good. All
There you
right.
go.
It sounds like someone's like stalling a motorcycle. Yeah. Sounds like someone's got a two-stroke a couple blocks away. Once the rolling of an R starts for me, it's going until I run out of breath.
So one of the first videos Dylan filmed for me, I said, "Oh, what is it? This is Trey Herrera, and you like to ride bikes or whatever."
Yeah.
And she gave me such a hard time for how I said my last name from that point on, and we were married only like 2 months at that point.
Yeah, and then from then on, he's like, all right, Herrera. I just feel like if you have if it was like Johnson, then okay, whatever. It wouldn't be Johnson, you know? It'd be like Johnson.
How'd that go again?
Johnson. It wouldn't be Johnson. It'd be Johnson. But you have a Spanish last name, so I feel like you should, pronounce it the way
Put
our
all the-
ancestors didn't fight for you not
Put
to
all the
pronounce
accents
it.
on there.
Right.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Yes.
put all the accents on there.
Yeah.
That's so. Long story short, clearly these two are amazing. We've known them for a long, long time. We met Trey through riding BMX, and Viv, his wife, has pretty much been there the entire time. I can't remember a single time.
Yeah.
Like, I'm pretty sure I met you guys at the same day. Like, I'm sure, because we met riding shows.
Really? Did he meet?
I met you Woodward Skate Park, and I was teaching you 720s.
Oh, that's
you remember
right.
that? 720s and backflips. Fly out onto some sketchy ramps.
Yeah,
and
that's
mats.
the first backflip I ever did.
Really?
Crazy.
Yeah.
You sent it just onto like a mattress or something?
They had those little red mats.
We were pulling off
damn.
the pillars.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah. I'd done them into the foam pit at Woodward East, like a year and a half before, when I was like a little kid and never even got any around. And then Trey has this really awesome ability to just transfer confidence, where like, oh, you got this, and then somehow it works perfectly, and then as soon as Trey isn't there, everything goes away, and you just crash a lot. And then I'm like, Trey, remember? Well, and then we end up riding again. He's like, dude, you should try insert whatever crazy trick. I'm like, every time I've tried that since you left, I've died. He's like, well, just try one real fast. If it doesn't go well, like, you don't have to, but you should try it. And then I'll land it, and then Trey goes away, and then it doesn't work anymore.
I'm not about peer pressure. Like, if I could see you could do it, I'll tell you, like, yeah, you totally got it. But if I see something's going wrong, like, no, you probably shouldn't do that. Chill out or whatever.
Yeah.
He taught me backflips into
Two
the
for
foam
two.
pit at my house.
But yeah, that's right.
It was the sketchiest foam pit ever.
There's got to be a photo we can find of it.
I know there's videos around somewhere.
I
but
remember.
Yeah, like there was like one mattress and then some couch cushions and a lot of trash. We had a lot of trash in there.
Yeah, so
It was like 2 feet deep
trash.
of
It was
of
cool,
trash
and you guys all made
mattresses.
fun of us. You're like, oh, your guys' bikes are too dialed for us.
yeah, Parker
all of
kids,
you guys were like,
yeah.
your bikes don't make any noise. Like, what's the deal with that? So
Oh,
it's
yeah.
hilarious.
I remember the amount of times JT and I tried to sneak a penny into the slot of your pivotal seat just so it would rattle and drive you nuts, but we never had change on us. Because it's a weird noise, and like once it's in there, it's like super hard to get out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but we just never had the change.
Unfriended us if you did that.
Back then, now I think I could get away with it. I've
Yeah.
earned some friend points, but
Yeah.
Oh man, that was a super sketchy foam pit. I remember driving around to like random dumpsters and like going to ARC donation centers and stealing all of the clothes
Yeah, we
and
did
cushions and
that.
stuff. And then we just bag all of the
Newspaper,
clothes
crumpled up
into...
newspaper was a lot of
Yeah.
it too.
Did you guys ever
Wow.
ride our foam pit?
No, I didn't know
No.
you had a foam pit.
We had a little. Do you remember? No, we weren't. That was way before you, actually. Way before you.
I don't
Anyway,
know, Trey.
Do you remember how
Viv.
I know.
how I used to ride bikes?
Yeah.
We put it in his backyard, but we went to the gymnastics center in Parker, and they threw out all of their foam. So we went and asked
yeah.
them if we could take it.
Oh, I remember you
And we
telling me.
took it, we built our own lip and everything, and we ended up having this crazy foam pit in the backyard.
Was
And
it
we
like
had-
crazy dialed?
It was pretty good for a while, and then the foam, like, since it's outside, the foam started
Right, that's just what happens. in any outdoor
deteriorating,
foam
and
pit.
then I started having insane allergies trying to ride it.
Maybe that's where you got all your issues from.
Probably.
It's like,
Well, outside foam pits, and then it was already used from a bunch of gymnastics kids. I'm sure.
Yeah, dude.
Borderline
that's
disease.
Yeah, the amount of like
Borderline.
4-year-old kids that peed in that foam, I'm sure.
Right, because to
dude,
have to replace the foam, I mean that's tens of thousands of dollars. They're not going to do this
Exactly.
until you really, really need it.
Yeah. Well, I went to Daniel Dare's place in North Carolina, and I was gonna do 1080s with Brian Fox. I show up, look at the foam pit, and I'm like, no way, not jumping in that thing.
No way.
It was that low. It was that low, and the foam was like, the normal box is like 8 by 8
Yeah.
cube, and they were like little balls.
Really?
And they weren't trying to replace him yet, and I was like, nope, not jumping in that
that's
thing.
insane.
Yeah, by the end of Evolve, it was getting pretty low too. I was bottoming out.
Evolve was just packed. All of them were
Yeah,
really,
you'd
really
have
packed.
to get in there and break it loose.
So, we have the Resi though.
I know, which I actually had a dream last night that I sent a front flip over the biker gap.
we can
I
we
did
can
not
make this
land
happen.
it. I didn't land it in the dream. I'll tell you. No. I
Wildest dreams.
Well, I've been watching a lot of Scotty Kramer's channel, and Big Boy just has me hyped on just hucking stuff. That dude sends the wildest things, and he somehow gets it around eventually. And I'm just so inspired by the tenacity of just like sending it that hard.
Well, he's getting paid, bro. Like it's.
I don't know
get
if that
it.
would matter. He just seems like the dude that
Well, for
would
me it
always be
wouldn't
down to
matter,
send
but
it. Yeah,
I
I'm
feel
just
like for
pumped on
him, he's like, oh, Scotty thinks I got it, and
Yeah, it's the same transfer of confidence. It's just instead of Trey, he has Scotty, right? Like, it's just like, yeah, you could probably get
And he's
that.
21 or whatever. He told me he was
Yeah,
young.
he's pretty
Like,
young,
there's a
so he's
difference.
still
like
Yeah.
Not
threw
gonna
out my
break
back
it.
bending over, like literally strapping on my snowboard before I'm even snowboarding.
That's fair. I do really want to set that resi up and go have some fun.
yeah, I got all the I got the resi mat itself, and then all the padding under it.
Yeah.
So,
Is there a decent quarter spot to set it up?
not without making something.
Yeah.
We could put it on top of the
Like-
quarter, but that's always a
Yeah.
little strange, you know.
Put like some redheads into the concrete.
Yeah.
Bolt on the
I'll
top
bring
of
the hammer
resi.
drill.
Yeah, dude.
It would work. It just the
I feel like you could use tap cons and then you just take the bolts away. We'll put some putty back in there. Seal it back up.
there's probably a good way to do that. That's a good one. Let's think about that one.
Yeah.
Write that down.
Well, so
What about a situation like Arvada Park where in the little bowl there's the quarter and then the bank wall? You do something
yeah,
like that.
that'd be a good spot for it. I thought about sending one the other day, and I was like,
That quarter's kind of weird, but
Yeah.
that's my issue.
Well, we're trying to talk to the city to build something more permanent. So, Josh, I don't even know his last name, but Josh he's pretty much volunteers and builds all the dirt jumps there. He's going to talk to the city, and I sent him some plans because I talked to Daniel Dares about what their ramp setup was so I can mimic their resi at Aurora Wheel Park. So, yeah.
No way.
If that gets approved, I could essentially build a permanent 6-foot tall resi box jump,
that would be
That'd be
super
rad.
fun.
and it'd be free for anybody to ride and enjoy.
That'd probably be like one of the first free resis in the country. Because usually you have to go to like an indoor park or I can't. That'd be like
there's a
genuinely
sweet
awesome.
mulch jump at Ruby.
I know. I almost
Is
thought
it still running? Because you know how
They-
those mulch things go. They just
refluffed
go
it.
away.
They refluffed it when we were there the other day, and I thought about trying a backflip for half of a second.
I don't think it's very soft mulch.
I don't. That's my problem. Is it's still pokey. Like even if it's not packed,
I flipped
You're
it.
gonna
I flipped
land-
it like a year ago, and I was like, I'd
doesn't
rather
look-
flip the
yeah.
real jump.
yeah.
So, what do you think?
I think that sounds good. I'm letting the
She's like-
tequila, just, relax.
Viv's smashing
minute.
through that
I'm like,
margarita over there.
yes, I needed
Oh, we're-
That's
that.
my girl right there.
I
pretty
needed
close.
that, yes.
Dude.
Cheers.
So, I guess a fun place we could start is what are you guys up to? Tell us a little bit about yourselves for the people who aren't friends of yours for over a decade. So everyone can kind of get to know you guys.
Okay, well, I'm Trey. This is my wife, Viviana. We've been married. If we're coming up
In
on
9 years.
9 years this July, which is awesome
that's
because
easy.
I'm not tired of her yet. And actually, no, I love her to death, and I pretty much consult her for everything that I do. But I run a YouTube channel, which is mainly automotive. I started off as a BMX channel, and then started doing automotive stuff, and people really like that a whole lot more than my bike riding. And unfortunately, that sucks. That sucks for me because I bike ride
honest,
way
he's
more
honest.
than anything else. But people really are interested. I think you have a much bigger audience with automotive stuff versus
Yeah.
BMX. So, but yeah, that's what I do. And then I'm still doing shows. I'm healing up right now. I'm about 80% from hurting my shoulder in Canada. And
Yeah, insert clip here. Most vicious front foot crash.
yes.
yeah. So separated my shoulder. Pretty good. AC separation, a level 2. And I'm about 80%. I've been riding a little bit, but definitely can't do a lot of the tricks that I want to do right now. So
Maybe just real quick, or we could come back to it, but I do want to hear about Canada at some point.
Yeah, I do as well.
If that's...
well, let me talk about my awesome.
Let her talk about her.
No, you're the guest.
Hold on. This is my awesome wife. So, has it been a year yet that you've been modeling?
Yeah, it's been a year. Yes.
Okay, so she started modeling, and that was huge for me because she's always been a support for me, and it was awesome for me to change roles.
Mm-hmm. And like to be on my shows and do all that.
And then it also gave me an opportunity to really practice my photography and learn how to use my camera that I've had for a good while, and take good photos of her and actually just gave us a
insert photo here.
Yes.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll do that.
Yeah.
I'm totally kidding. Don't
Get
do
one
that.
with your hair up.
No.
yes.
I hate you.
That was slick.
I hate you. You are the worst. Yeah.
I meant that you'd be relaxed.
Mm-hmm.
That's like a super common term.
Anyway, yeah. So allowed me to take photos of her and allowed her to actually step out and do something that she really wanted to do. I know she's super passionate about fashion and helping people with their dressing them and
which I still have to go and because me and Dylan went on a little fashion.
I
did
know.
you didn't go with Gavin either?
No, I hit her up like
still
4
need
times.
to.
And she
Yeah.
does
But
every time.
it was just it was like we never had time. We never
But I mean, look at me. I'm
How do you
fashion
say-
flawless right here.
How do you say coincided?
Coincided.
There you go. That's it.
Our
That's
timelines never coincided.
Coincide. Okay, there. Sorry, my
I've been reading a lot
Lined
of
up.
my English is
Yeah.
still
English is second language for her.
Yeah, it's so
Your
you
English
would
is
think
It's
much
still
that
better
good.
than all of our Spanish.
you would
so.
think that by now my English would be perfect, but sometimes I'm still like, how do you say or
I meet a lot of people who English is their first language who
Still
probably
don't know.
wouldn't
Yeah.
know what coincided was. I wouldn't know that against yourself.
In all honesty, I would have never thought of that word. So I was like, oh yeah, that's perfect.
It's like,
Yeah, I could have made up a word just now.
It's like
Everyone else at this
so-
table would be like, that's the word.
yeah. In Spanish, it's coincidir. So,
see?
coincided. That, so it's like, okay, I tell Trey, I'm like, you wouldn't believe me, but in Spanish, I know, a lot of big words. And then in English, I'm trying to translate.
Oh no.
Like, we use brute a lot. Like, bruto. Like, you're such a bruto.
Okay.
Musclehead.
But a brute in English, I've never heard anybody say that before.
No.
I've never heard
It's a type of
someone call-
champagne, I believe.
No, but in English, it's like someone that's,
Yeah, like a
silly
brute
or
would be
whatever.
like a tough dude
Yeah,
or like a.
and then we use that word a lot, and Trey's like, where'd you get that word from? We use it in Spanish
Daddy.
all the time. It's crazy.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird things like that. I'm so glad that I think you're the first multilingual person we've had on the podcast.
Oh, yes.
I'm pretty sure.
So
Yeah.
the funny thing is, I'm a terrible speller, and
my
hold on. So I'll ask her how to spell something,
Yo.
and she doesn't do it in English.
I do
She'll
it in
think it out in
Spanish.
Spanish, and then it'll come out perfect.
No.
And then to me, it looks funny on my phone or whatever I'm trying to spell,
Yeah.
and I double check, and then I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. I'm sorry for even questioning
So I
it.
feel be like, how do you spell fabulous? And in my head, I'm like, that's fabuloso.
Fabuloso. Sí, muy
So I'm
fabuloso.
F-A-B, and then
That's
spell
awesome.
it. And then that's just how I spell things out in my head. It's crazy.
Do you
It's crazy.
dream in English and in Spanish?
I've gotten that question asked before, and
Because I heard that's like when you know you've got it.
Yeah. I think I dream. Mostly I dream in English, which is weird. But I count in Spanish. If I can't count in English, I get so confused. I asked him, I always get confused with thousands and he's like 1K. And I'm like, what is that?
Yeah.
100
Yeah.
or 1,000? Why is it 1K? What's the K for?
In metric system, K would be like a kilometer or a
okay.
kilo, which is typically in thousands. Because of the metric system, that's why it's 1K.
Okay, so I seen that because everybody was like, who's a better rapper, Andre 3000 or whoever? And I was like, it's like 3K. I was like, what is the K for?
What post is this?
I don't know.
Yeah, he was so lazy. I've never heard someone call Andre 3000 Andre 3K. He was in
That's my boy though.
he was in that band, not in Sidecast. Yeah.
And so I was just like, you know, I'm like, okay, 3K. So, it's like little things like that, you know what I mean? That's like, I don't know, my brain is so back and forth, you know, so it's pretty cool.
Let's get back to modeling, because because we've known you for so long, I've gotten to watch the same thing that Trey was just describing of like, you are crazy passionate about this, and I didn't even know that about you until like a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago, when you started doing more like fashion type stuff and getting into the modeling scene and doing more with like helping people design wardrobes for themselves. And that's so cool. Like, what made you finally decide to just like pull the trigger on that? Because that's crazy that you've been pumped on that for so long,
right?
And I just found that out about you.
Well, that I just, I've been helping people for so long with it, and I'm like, why don't I just do it? You know what I mean? Like in a bigger.
Well, tell them about your boss, like our original boss.
So the lady I used to work for, she owned an online designer store, and so I just always had a passion for fashion. You know, so I'm like,
I like
always had a passion for fashion.
Yes.
And so she actually like helped me, like just get more involved in that scene. You know, we would do like shows. We would go and like, we would bring like all the clothes to like events, and so like people would go and shop for the clothes and stuff. And so I was just like, oh my god, like I love this. And eventually I tell him like I want to start my own like. Like my own fashion store too, and with my mom. And so that's like me and my mom's dream. Like I honestly feel all my family is just so fashion forward. Like everybody.
Dude.
Everybody. My brother is just crazy like about fashion, and my dad, I was just talking to my sister-in-law about this, his sister, yesterday. We were talking about my grandma for some reason, and she always told me like, don't ever go out like of your house without looking nice, or without, she's like, makeup. She's like, you do not go to the corner store without makeup on.
Oh, that was my mom's thing too.
And so
so we were never allowed to leave the house like looking anything under presentable.
Ooh,
not even close.
I don't understand why. Like it's not like. I don't know. I mean, to some people, like,
I think it's like
really
a look
matter,
good, feel good, play good kind of a thing.
Yeah, but I was always brought up with that mentality. You know what I mean? And so my dad is just so like fashion forward too. Like I actually think I got it from my dad.
Her dad be rocking Gucci glasses and
my dad like is Gucci that, which we're not like doing that right now. For everybody watching, we are rocking Gucci right now.
That's crazy though.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So, but it's just like, I don't know, we've just always been that. And so all of my friends actually would always call me, like, if they had, like family photos, or, like, they'd call me and they'd be like, hey, Viv, I need your help, and I just started realizing, like, all my friends were calling me, like, for when they had events or something like that, and I'm like, why don't I just make this like what I want to do? Like, I love it, and so I decided to step out and finally like not just learn like that, aspect, because there's different like, ¿cómo se dice? Like roots, or how do you say?
There's different paths.
To it, and like you got you got photography, you got the modeling, you got the
actual owning like a brick and mortar store,
the designer part, and so I'm not good at designing. I just admire what the designers already made and put it into people's bodies.
I feel like that's a really useful skill though, like being able to pick the right thing for the right person, like
to match your body.
Yeah, exactly. Like Dylan wears super tight clothes because he's 160 pounds wet.
Amazing on him.
And then like I'm wearing a lot of bright colored hats. I'm going to try and focus a lot of the attention up here.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to wear short shorts, focus everything away from this part of my body.
Yeah. See,
for now, then you're gonna do the 6-pack challenge, and that might change.
I know, we're getting there.
Then he's going to be shirtless everywhere.
Y'all can't be Dylan at the 6-pack challenge.
You're going to have to. You're going to have to.
I'm the judge. I'm the judge.
Oh, you're the judge.
You don't know this yet.
Oh, okay.
You haven't watched the video. You got to watch the video of him and Sam. Him and Sam.
I watched watched that video.
Okay,
It's pretty.
It was
the
funny.
funniest day.
It was ridiculous. It's a ridiculous.
It was the
video.
weirdest thing I've ever done in my life. It was so much fun making
You
that
said the
video.
weirdest thing.
Yeah, because like everything about it was like super dumb and silly and so much fun. It was the greatest.
Well, we're trying to do skits, like random automotive skits where the wife like gets mad at me for buying something dumb or
yeah.
whatever. So the last skit we
Oh
did
my
was
God,
about me
guys.
spending tax money on car parts, like all of our
Yeah.
tax return on car parts. So we're just, but she's a really good actor, and I am not even a close.
Yeah, I can see Viv going
I was
0 to
mad. I was
100.
like, Herrera, how could you? Blah blah blah, and he was just like, I don't know. I did that, and I'm like, come on, like really, you gotta like, oh, you know,
I'm over
like,
here serving heat, babe. You gotta hit the ball back over the net.
And he was just staring at me like confused, like he was like frozen in the camera. I'm like, dude,
You get-
if we're trying to do this,
It's funny
you gotta
in the-
like freaking step up your acting game. Like,
Oh, I'm a
that.
terrible actor. Like in my mind, I think of all kinds of funny stuff to do, but then when it comes down to doing it, I'm terrible at it. So like I was like she was saying what she was saying, and I know what she was about to say, and I'm just kind of, and I didn't realize it,
And
but
then
I'm like
he's
lip
moving
syncing like what she's saying, so I could
saying
kind
my
of think about
lines.
what I'm about to say. It's hilarious.
I was speaking and he's
I
like,
want to see the raw footage from this.
You guys gotta figure out how to do it for real because you're really good on your channel of being real. So you have to like
Yeah.
figure out how to merge that. Like,
Yeah, 'cause
maybe
on my
actually-
channel,
you
I
have
just-
to actually get mad at him.
Yeah.
I know, because I've
No, but
already
it
had
was
like
easy
3
for me.
ideas
Like,
since we started talking
If
about
you
this.
if you watch it, she's great. Like it's very believable that she was actually mad at me. You watch me, and you can tell in my mind I just want to laugh or like not be serious about it whatsoever, and it's really really difficult. So
That's my problem is I can't not laugh. I can't finish anything without starting laughing. Like every single time if it's a good enough joke and I'm excited about like, oh, this is the exact right words to say right now, everyone's gonna laugh. I can't get it out well enough to make anyone else laugh because
Which
I'm
is
just
crazy
so
to me.
happy about like, oh, this is gonna be a good joke, and then
Yeah.
I start laughing before I even say it, and it goes nowhere.
it's crazy
Everyone
to
looks
me,
at me
though,
like I'm
because
special.
like with how you are and like how we are, I feel like we could just be like on it, like switch, you know what I mean, or act it out and stuff. But like that's crazy.
for me, I feel like it's the camera, because like I could mess with somebody
Yes,
and I
Yeah.
and everybody knows I'm messing with them, and I can keep a straight face and then laugh about it later.
Yeah.
But as soon as the camera comes on, I'm just like,
That's how it was yesterday. Like he put a wig on, and I was like, act like
What?
this or whatever.
because my mom brought it out, and we're just being silly
I'm just
and
being dumb.
I'm all about this. Is there
yeah, I
a
couldn't-
photo of
I
Trey
couldn't
in a
be
Viv, or Trey in a wig that I can see?
I know, it was funny. I was like, change your voice. I was like, do this or talk this
And,
way.
yeah, I just kinda
and
froze
he
up.
was just like, I'm like, come on, like you're so.
well, she has her camera out, and I know she's gonna put it on the gram because
I
that's.
was not gonna put it on the gram. It was for you to see, like how you act,
And then my dad and my mom
Her
were looking
face
at
right
me.
now just gave away that was definitely going to the gram. She
Yeah.
said that, but everything else is like, oh yeah, everyone's gonna know about
like-
this.
Anyway,
So yeah, my mom and my dad are looking at me. She's looking at me, and she has her phone ready. And I was just like, what do you want me to say? Like I couldn't really play the part. Like
actually,
See,
At
it's
the
hard.
time.
I'm there with
Yeah,
you. Like
yeah.
sometimes
Yeah.
I can, and sometimes I can't. It's
Yeah.
really hard. Like in that video, you can tell. Like sometimes I'm alright, and sometimes I'm just like.
and there's one thing if people didn't know, Trey's an introvert. So
Yeah.
he's I think like YouTube has really helped him to, like open up, and kind of like show a different side of him, that like a lot of people don't know. Cause like I see his crazy side and I see that he's wild and all that stuff, but with people he's very like, if he doesn't know
Yeah.
you, he's very like reserved. He's not, like very open. And so I feel like being in front of the camera has helped him like more, you know what I mean? He's still a little like,
That's actually a really good point, though. I feel like that probably helps a lot of, like, I'm just picturing a lot of people who normally might not have had the space because they were more on the introverted side of things. I think it's allowed them to have the space where they get to interact with people and still be like wild and out, like Viv's saying, but without actually having to be around the people, because that's what's because I've actually looked into like what the difference between extroverts and introverts is, because I want to understand how the other half lives.
Yes. I read just to understand him.
Well, and just like so I can relate more. Yeah, because
And these right here,
and
the
so
introverts.
We've talked about it on the podcast before. Like that's a very large part of why I've wanted to start with YouTube and this podcast is to practice and get better.
Yeah.
Because I'm the same way in my mind. I have all these wild thoughts and
ideas, and it shoots off
at,
all the
doing
time,
it. Yeah,
and then
I'm good
when
at
it comes
doing
down
the
to it, you're just like. I swear, when I first started, I was looking at the camera, and it was so awkward for me just to look at the camera and talk. And then you could tell in my early videos, like, super scripted, chopped up, edited, because I didn't know how to talk. And even still, sometimes I still mess up a little bit, but... Yeah, she calls me that.
I do a lot of so's. That's my go-to.
So he like quit the smacking, like.
That's great.
Yeah. So, but no, it's just crazy. I do the same thing too.
Yeah,
I read and want to learn about what you guys are like. What the other part?
Yeah, she'll read me articles and random articles.
I-
this totally is you. Listen to this.
Yeah. I do that to poor Allie all the time. I'm just like, does this describe your life? She's just like, I'm not sure if you're being mean. What? And I'm like, I'm just curious.
Yes, I'm exactly the same way. It's like I'll just be in a group and I'm just like, I want to know about you. Like, I want to know what you do. I want to know what your life is like. I want to know everything about you. And Trey's like...
At first, she couldn't understand why I would, like, do a lot of stuff just by myself. Like, where's your friends at? Why don't you call your friends to go do something?
Where's your friends at?
He's just so, like, alone. Do you like to be alone, too? Like, is that your...
It depends how I'm feeling. Usually, no.
Okay.
Like, I'm very grateful to have Allie and Gavin to live with to do that. But I mean, there's times where I definitely do just want to like sit alone and watch TV or whatever.
Like, does that?
Yeah, but most of the time I would rather be with people.
Okay. Oh,
But it's weird because like I don't need to be like talking or like doing something with them or. Having a conversation. I just even like hanging out.
Like,
just chilling.
It's cool.
Yeah, just chilling.
So, like, me, I could be alone all day long and it's no big deal. Mm-hmm. Which a lot of people think is strange. Like, I could say I have a task to do, like working on the car or whatever. I could literally work on the car all day by myself, just have some music going, whatever, and it'd be totally fine. Mm-hmm. Like, wouldn't feel an ounce of loneliness or a desire to have people around.
Mm-hmm.
See, it seems so productive. That's what
That's
really what I get out of every time I've looked into like any articles or anything I've found on differences between extroverts and introverts. It just seems so much more productive and useful to be slightly introverted. Because people naturally will spend time with other people, but I'm so bad at being by myself. Like, one day I just want to record me at the house while Allie and Dylan are gone. I am losing my mind for hours, just like screaming and yelling and making random noises and like doing one-man shows.
A time
just
lapse
like
would be
me
so
talking
funny.
to myself and doing like these insane, literally like I go crazy and I get real hyper.
Oh, man.
You're just like
And nothing
me.
gets done, and I'm just like, I want to be productive so bad, but there's no one around, and that's so pressing.
Okay,
of
this
an
could
issue.
be a
He's
funny
dancing in his
challenge.
underwear, like.
No,
This could be a funny
absolutely.
challenge, like, because so
I did that today.
I'm apparently under a rock. I just found out about this guy named Mr. Beast on YouTube. Do you guys know about him? He's like one of the highest. He's like 17 million subscribers.
my
Like, he's
God.
huge. But he got huge by just doing these insane challenges. Like, he's the one that gives like huge tips to like $30,000 tips to waitresses or $10,000 to a homeless man just out of his car.
Wow.
That's what he does now, but he got famous by like counting to 100,000. It took him like 40 hours or something, and just straight.
What?
It's a 40-hour-long YouTube video of him counting to 100,000. Or he said,
"That's a great way to hit that 4K."
Watch
Intro
time.
level, yeah, exactly.
yeah, right?
One dude watches that, you've 10x'd it.
He said,
you got it.
he said PewDiePie 100,000 times.
Wow.
And that took him like 24 hours or whatever. But
Oh my
like,
God.
That's the most random thing to get famous for, though.
But he did it. And,
Yeah,
and
million
it
ways
works.
to make
And
$1 million.
And
Yeah.
now he makes enough money that, he does all these challenges of like, whoever keeps their hand on the car, the Ferrari, the Lamborghini the longest wins
Keeps
it.
it.
I think exactly right now he's doing it. You have to live in the Tesla, but whoever lives in the Tesla the longest gets to keep it. It's just crazy stuff like
with
that.
DoorDash, you could make that months.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, with the
You would just DoorDash food to the car.
Yeah, I don't know if they have
Well,
that kinds of internet.
how would you use the bathroom?
There's a
Dude,
little
you just-
bags. Remember there's a porta potty one? And then like you sit on it and then you take the bag out.
What?
You wrap it and then
See?
you throw it out the window.
Viv and I are already ready to win this
I've had to do
challenge.
that actually. For me and my friend Janice did a kayaking trip to in the Lake Powell, and there's no sand. You can't like bury it, so you have to keep it and throw it away.
No way.
We're kind of off the rails here.
Yeah.
But
I told
anyway,
you that, and
anyway,
he's like,
yeah.
imagine driving by a driver that you're mad at, and then you just throw it.
Dude, the
Don't do that.
Long story, yeah.
24-hour challenge. Gavin has to be by himself in a box for 24 hours. And film it.
my
You
that
get-
might
hold on,
genuinely
hold on.
break me. That might
He
genuinely
will
break
go-
This room.
You
this
give
room.
him a task, though.
Yeah.
With a task, I'd be okay. If it was
You got like 3
just
tasks,
mindless,
and you have to get it done within those 24 hours. But they might
Okay,
be
wait.
Have him
mindless,
edit,
dumb
edit
tasks.
these
No.
podcasts would be. But that would be too productive.
Yeah.
That would be too productive.
One of them has to do that. You have to solve a Rubik's Cube.
I did. So I learned how to solve a Rubik's Cube when I was in high school, and I used to be really good at it, but I probably couldn't do it anymore.
I would be a cheater. I'd just take the stickers off and move
Yeah.
on.
No, I cheated in a different sense. I just YouTubed how to beat it.
Yeah.
Oh.
But, dude, that'd be a crazy challenge. I don't genuinely know if I think that might snap me mentally. I would love for one day if you can hide a camera at the house and then you and Allie are gone for an evening. It's the craziest. I literally do like one-man Broadway shows and just like scream and yell and like scat duel and just like for like hours and hours and hours till I'm hoarse. And then finally one of you guys comes home and it's like a dog. I'm just like so happy to see them and just like 100% energy, and they're probably beat from their long day.
It's inevitably after a
I
long
used to
day,
sing
like a
opera.
12-hour day or
Opera?
whatever.
Opera?
Opera, yeah.
Opera?
Oprah?
You sing opera.
Yeah.
Opera.
Opera?
It's opera.
You get
Is
a
that in Spanish?
Opera is in Spanish.
Opera.
In Spanish, you just like
Telenovela.
belt out like.
Telenovela.
That's what this was about to be.
Yeah. Dude,
That's what they said our skit was, a telenovela.
Yeah. Somebody legit said that. They're like, this looks like a telenovela. I'm like, I know.
Give us your best, right into that camera. Just give us your best, like, you know how in a telenovela they always have like something happens and then they just like stare at the camera all dramatic.
Okay.
Best just like straight down the barrel.
Herrera, how could you do this to me?
That was good.
See?
Good.
See?
Oh my God.
Just like that. You see it, it's just like straight face
Okay,
and good to go.
I think all Latinas can act because we grew up watching telenovelas.
Yeah.
Soap operas since you were like a little girl. Like, that's all you grow up with, and you're just so dramatic all the
Well,
time.
and I feel like-
you know, it's
I feel like
that explains a lot.
yeah, I feel like that really, and you guys are so naturally emotional. Like
Yes.
white people don't experience any emotion.
No, that is not true.
Like we bury everything versus you guys just experience it.
Are you talking about white people or men?
white men specifically, but yeah, like in general, I just feel like Latin culture in general, like you guys allow yourselves to like feel more emotions.
Yeah.
And so right then, like you could turn on an emotion because you know it. It's not weird to go there.
Yeah.
Versus like we could get JT in here and be like, be angry, and he's just like, and just, be happy, and it's just, like he wouldn't.
Yeah, it's like the same thing.
Yeah, you can't reach for it because it's not like comfortable. Versus, I feel like because the last couple years I've been spending so much time around Hispanic culture that like everyone is fully passionate. Like whatever the emotion is, it's gonna come out, and then they're gonna move to the next emotion, and then. I feel like that's why you can just like turn that on versus
it's crazy.
And obviously, as dudes like historically or like culturally, we've been trained to like not lean into our emotions. I'm very against it.
Yeah,
and there's a
definitely.
lot there, but I bet that might have something to do with it.
She gives me a hard time about it a lot.
You know, you're totally right. It's crazy. Like I like tell Trey, it was kind of hard for me to kind of like adapt coming here, to the American culture.
Yeah, when did you come to America?
I was 8 years old when I got here, so it was about I'm about to be 30.
We were like third grade,
1968.
So I was
I'm kidding.
I was born in 1989. I'm about to be 30 years old.
Oh snap!
30.
Yeah, what are we doing?
I know.
We can't make this plan right now.
All right, let's not.
Back to the story.
It's about to be ratchet, so we can't say
Back to you were adjusting to American culture.
Yeah, adjusting to the American culture, it was hard, it's different.
It's icy.
It's like with them, and maybe this is not all Americans. I don't know, but we're more about family. Like that's all we do. You can't do anything without your family, and he's more like, I'm on my own. Like, I started getting a job at, like, 15, 16, and I'm like, you don't do that in a Hispanic culture. Like, your parents still run your life until you move out. You know what I mean? Like, I was, like, freaking
and then 19. They move in with you.
And then,
actually, the funny part about that is very true. We all rented a house, and then, they're with us, and grandparents, everything.
Yeah, dude.
My grandparents were there, and that's just, So with him, it's like, I got a job at 15, and I'm like, what? Like, your parents made you get
I just got done having my fake wedding. I turned 15.
I know. And so,
my quinceañera was
lit. I know. And so I tell him, I'm like, our children are not going to work at 15. Like, there's no way. Like, for us, it's like, you don't work
They're going to work at, like, 13.
Mm-hmm, that's right.
Oh, my God. I'm like, until you graduate, you work. Like, your job at that point in time is for you to finish school. Like, you don't have another job in our culture. You know what I mean? And and then
what about selling chicle?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, and then there's you have two different
point of views.
Yeah, because some of them, like, my dad was forced to work when he was 7 years old, and so you know what I mean. Then there's that. So I feel like it depends how you grew up. You know what I mean? And so since my dad was forced to work at such an early age because his family didn't have anything, that's why he wanted me to study and go to school and all these things, and then not focus about working or anything else until you graduate. You know what I mean?
See, I have a friend that has kids that are about to turn into adults, and they were telling me basically, I want my kids to enjoy being kids.
Yeah.
The rest of their life, they have plenty of time to have a job.
Exactly.
They have plenty of time to go grind away 9 to 5 at a job. I want them to have expendable income and be young and dumb and get to make mistakes in a safe place.
Yeah.
Where they still are coming home, and if anything did go wrong, we can fix it.
Yeah, exactly.
Instead of like right away you're not allowed
Just
to
throw
enjoy
you,
being 15.
you know,
Like
into the
if you do have a
world.
job, like it doesn't matter. Like their kids do have jobs, and they still pay for like their cell phone and their car and their car. Like their job is just expendable money to them, which is so different than what I'm guessing the three of us experienced.
And he was.
I was buying my own clothes at 13. I bought all my own bike parts. As soon as I had a job, my cell phone bill was mine. My car insurance was.
God, no,
I think
this
my
is
car
crazy.
insurance was paid for, but I paid some of it. I had to buy my car myself. Like everything. Which was a different lesson to learn. I'm really proud of myself for all that, and there's a lot of like pride that comes from that place.
Yes.
But it's cool to hear like there's more than one way to do it, right?
Yeah, no, definitely. And when he told me about that, he's like, oh, well, I started paying for this and this at like 15, 16. I'm like, why? Like, what? Like, it was just so new to me. Like, I did not know that there was a different way than how we do it, just like you said, you know what I mean? And it was just super mind-blowing, just, like, the differences in cultures, you know what I mean? To be a Hispanic and to be a, you know, an American it's very, very, very different, you know? So it's
but
when
at
he
least
was like...
the U.S. finally has guac now, so...
Yeah, oh my God, yeah.
I literally remember pre-guac. Like...
So he actually, like, when I was 19, we were dating. And
that was my next question is how you guys met.
Oh, yeah. So I had a curfew, and he was like...
Oh, she had to sneak out to see me.
19.
What?
He's like, oh, you are 19 years old. I'm like, you don't understand. Like, I cannot leave this house unless my dad allows me to. And, like, or I have to come back at, like, a certain time, you know, and it's crazy. You know what I mean? That
I had to go and see her at 11 o'clock at night the first time.
Yeah.
Like, how sketchy does that sound? Oh, our first date, 11 o'clock at night, you know?
She snuck out the window. I drove away in my IRZ.
This is the real one because he stuck around even through that. So I was like, any dude would have been like, girl, you are like weird. Like, I am not coming to see you at 11.
Stand up to your dad.
I know. Like, and so he, like, you know, passed every single, like, obstacle my dad put, and here we are 10 years later.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've been together 10 years, but married 9, pretty much.
Yeah. So we got married after 8 months. I've actually known him since 4th grade.
And everybody's like, oh, you're getting married too young, blah, blah, blah. And
everybody's like, who's married?
I remember you came up to Winter Park, like, not... it was probably less than a month after you got married. Mm-hmm. And
it was one day, bro.
One day.
I wanted to say less than a week, and I was like, I'm going to pad this, give myself some
leeway?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly, yeah. But I remember that show, and I remember he drove up, and... he told us that you guys went and got married, and I was like 15. I was a real bitter little kid, and I was just like, that's crazy. And at the time, I probably still thought he was like 19 because he lied about his age for like 12 years.
He's still 18. No. Every birthday, he's 18.
No, it's 21.
21, yeah.
21 now.
But... yeah, I remember literally thinking, like, wow, that seems young. And because of, like, the culture I grew up in, like, I didn't know, or at least I didn't realize I knew anyone. My grandparents were a really good example of it, but I didn't know anyone who genuinely was, like, passionate about being married. Yeah. Like, everyone I knew who got married was like, I guess we'll get married. Whatever. This is stupid. And so... seeing two people who were just genuinely in love and committed to each other just going for gold right out the gates was like the craziest thing.
I don't know. He was the one. I wasn't even thinking, like, and he told me, like, from...
Don't even lie.
No.
Don't even lie.
He told me straight up, like, well, if I'm going to date you, it's because I want to get married. I was like...
That's a very Trey Herrera thing to say, though.
Exactly. He's just so, like...
One love.
Like this, like that, like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Trey's a committed individual.
He is.
About everything.
He is. He doesn't half-ass anything.
No.
Anything in his life. It's always like, this is what it is. And that's what it is. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't take peer pressure well. Like, if you tell him, like, Trey, drink this, and he'd be like, nah. And he's like, drink this, and he'd be like, nah.
it's water,
and
man.
then you're like,
you're dying. He's like, nah, man, I ain't gotta do nothing.
And that's just how it is. And I've learned that from him. You know what I mean? Like to be assertive. You know, with what I want. You know what I mean? Like, and I've learned that with him. You know, like, and this is really probably a stupid example, but like we went to Illich's, and my friend was wanting me to do the bungee jump, and I'm like, no, like I know I have anxiety, so like me being up there is gonna make me panic. Like I already know this. And so she was like, come on, let's do it. Just get on. Don't be a P word and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, like, I don't want to do it. And so that was the first time that I ever, like, because I really, like, peer pressure does kind of get to me. And they're like, oh, let's take a shot.
The curse of an extrovert. Yeah, the curse of an extrovert. I care far too much that you like me. Yeah.
And so I'm all like, yeah. But I've learned that, like, other side to stand up for yourself. You know what I mean? And now my friends are like, well, you've changed. And I'm like, I know, but I actually feel like I have a voice. You know what I mean? Like, all along I've always felt like I was just being led and I, you know, got into dumb decisions and doing this and doing that. But now, because of him, I have a voice. I can speak for myself and I can say no. You know what I mean? And,
that's
and
awesome.
I feel like he's helped me, like, realize that I have a voice for myself. You know what I mean? That I can say no. This is what I want, not what you want me to do. You know? And so, yeah, it's been a good journey.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That's seriously awesome.
Yeah.
It's so funny to me that, like, at any point you felt anything less than, like, assertive and confident.
Yeah.
Because as a tiny little white boy from Parker, you were the most terrifying person I'd ever met when I first met you. Because I was like, I'd never met someone who was so passionate. Again, like, I grew up in, like, a very, like, muted culture. Like, everything was very never go to a peak, never go to a valley. And then I remember, like, the first time, one of the first times, we were at a stunt show, and someone was just asking Trey for an autograph, and you showed up, like, at 110%, like, what's up, chick? And just started, like
she would stand behind me
she would
and
literally
outside, and she just
mean mug these chicks.
I mean, to be fair, they're asking you to sign their boobs. So
No, not who I'm
we
thinking of.
we did the
I mean,
the
that
Colorado
happened
Springs
many
at the
times.
what is that stadium in Colorado Springs?
The Olympic Training Center.
Yeah. So they're little girls. They're 12.
not little girls, okay?
Dude,
At
they're
14,
like 13.
No, 15 or whatever, you know what you're doing.
I agree,
But it's not like anything's gonna
Yeah,
happen.
what's on my boobs? Like, really? What's a 15-year-old?
I do not remember that happening.
I honestly
I
haven't
would have,
really
because I was
had
like
that happen.
16, so I'd have been real pumped on that. But I do not remember that happening.
I don't remember specifics, but I know it's happened many times.
But
when I was there, I don't remember who was doing it, and I don't know how old they are. I'm not card, and
Yeah, I just remember.
They get pumped. These girls get pumped on
I did get
guys doing backflips, and they.
Exactly.
I got my first girl's number at a Yellow Design stunt show. That's a true story, because everyone was peer pressuring me into it, and Curse of the Extrovert, I was like, I'm a seal this deal, and I got these two girls' numbers at a Mammoth show, my very first, like, paid stunt show I ever did for Yellow Designs.
That's super cool.
But I feel like it's so cool that you guys are a really good example of, to get back on point, of, like, you guys are a good example of, you have used your marriage as a way to get each other to a new level, push each other to really grow as individuals because of who you are as a team.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that it's just a really important message to bring to everybody, right?
Definitely.
Like, I think a lot of people in today's culture, because it's so microwave mentality and everyone just wants to be, like, quote unquote happy, right?
Yeah.
Like everything on Instagram or Facebook, everything is so rose colored that it's really easy to forget that, like, the point of marriage isn't happiness, it's a byproduct.
Yeah.
Happiness is a byproduct of a healthy marriage, but there's also so much more where, like, you guys are challenging each other and you're pushing each other, and, like, you're probably calling each other out on stuff and saying, and, like, that's honestly, I think it's really cool that you guys have been a really good example of making each other better.
That's so sweet.
I can see it in both of you just because I've known you for so long.
It's hard, you know? I mean, sometimes it's like, it's not all like, it's a Mexican saying, I don't know, color of roses, you know, it's not all pink and pretty, you know what I mean? And so, I mean, there's times, you know what I mean? But I feel like I've learned that you don't put your problems on social media. You know what I mean? Like, no matter what, you don't go and throw, you know, like, your problems like, oh, today he did this. Like, that's percent. Let me tell you why.
You don't vent to social media.
Let me tell you why.
Yeah.
Because one time I did that. I did that. I
We're gonna
went
pull
in
up
there
the post.
and I'll screenshot it to you. I'll send it to you. I said, he was just writing a lot and doing all these things, and I was like, well, what about me? You know what I mean? And so it was kind of like we were
the
at that
career
point.
post. I remember
so
that.
I was like,
I vaguely remember this fight. This was a big one.
Wait. I wrote on Facebook and I was like, don't let your career get in the middle of your relationship. Guess what? 2 minutes later, my ex slides into my DMs. And I was like, okay. He's like, hey, how are you? And I was like, nope. I was like, and that just made me like realize that you don't post your problems on social media because you leave the door open for other people, you know what I mean, to try to get in and, you know, do things and stuff. And I'm like, I just don't want to put myself out there like that, you know what I mean? And so
I also like this post.
And
she called me laughing about it.
He's the worst. He went and he knew it was about him and liked it. I was like, you're a jerk. Like, you're the worst.
Dude.
I mean, I would hope it was about him.
I know.
Yeah. Dude, that would have been so great. Like a selfie from the skate park, like, love you, girl.
I know,
You're my
right?
boo. And
love
then just
you.
like
I know
slide
you
that
mad,
into the
but I'm about
comments.
to come home later. Yeah, it was funny.
That's awesome. So, I know that we talked about this at the beginning, and I really want to hear about it. You just went to Canada for one of the coolest BMX jams. I've always wanted to go, and it seemed like it was kind of a last-minute trip. It wasn't necessarily like super duper planned. You were just like, actually, I'm going to go for it. I want to hear about your trip to Canada.
Well, Canada, actually, I was planning on going for a while.
Oh, really?
So through Reclamation paid for the flight, whatever. And
shout out to Reclamation.
Shout out Reclamation, Fred
his
Gates.
sponsor, Fred Gates. Thank you.
Yeah,
You're
Fred's
amazing.
awesome.
Shout out to
big shout
Fred
out to
Gates.
Fred.
No, seriously.
We need to have Fred Gates on the podcast.
Fred would be
Yes,
awesome. I can't believe I
Fred.
didn't think of that.
Thank you.
Yes. No, Fred and Yellow, probably the best
hold on.
sponsors.
Yellow Design Sun Team. Here's a shout out. Thank you for all them illegal Pete's cards because we were broke as hell, and because of illegal Pete's and that, we ate.
Yeah. That's real talk. There's been many weeks where it's like,
many times.
if it weren't for this Pete's card,
yes,
little Gavin's
you don't even
rumbly
know.
tumbly would never.
He would have never gotten a girl's number. I mean,
Yeah,
there's
exactly.
lots of benefits.
We survived
lots of
off
benefits
of
to
them
be able to-
I'm a reasonably functional adult in society because of Yellow Design. So that's the
Yes.
only reason I learned social skills.
Another shout out. Thank you, Illegal Pete's. Your burritos are the best.
It's
And
just-
I can personally
And the
say,
queso.
Shout outs
and the
for 5
queso.
minutes.
Thank you, because your burritos are way better than Chipotle. But we can probably
Shots
put that in there.
Shots fired. We don't edit stuff, so
And
it's
you
in
guys
there.
have margaritas, and I just love to get lit off of them. Thank you.
Yes. No.
Any other shout outs? It seems like we're just in a space.
Shout out to tequila.
Shout out to tequila because you give me liquid courage, and I love you. I love you.
Yeah.
She didn't.
Shout out to Mexico.
I'm gonna look at this camera
Shout
right
out
here.
to
Shout out to Mexico. Rep it.
I'm gonna look at this camera right here.
Yeah.
She didn't even want to do this podcast before we walked in. So look at her now.
Yeah.
She's all about it. So give her a thumbs up for that
Yeah,
one.
all right,
Shout out to tequila for that one.
Shout out to Kyle for that one.
Shout out to Viv for joining us on the podcast.
Shout out to my amazing friends because
Yeah,
you
that's
guys
what I was about
just
to say,
make this
too.
possible, and I love you guys so much. Like
You're
I
right.
really
We're pretty
do.
amazing.
No, you guys are, and I do. I love my
Dylan's a
friends, too.
great cook. You guys must know. Dylan's a great
Yes!
cook.
Oh my gosh.
And Gavin, honestly, okay,
Wait,
hold on. Rock, paper, scissors.
Rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah, rock, paper, scissors.
Right now.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. I win.
Trey's first.
I hate him.
All right. Shout out to Gavin because he got me hooked on chips and dip for no apparent reason.
Yes.
I've been eating chips and dip a
Yes.
whole lot the last couple weeks.
Yes.
That's what's up. That's what's up.
Anyway, to all the ladies out there that are single, my friend Dylan is an amazing cook. I'm not even kidding. He throws
I don't think any ladies listen to this podcast.
down. He throws
Yeah.
down. He makes the best burgers. He makes the best Samoan pie. He makes everything. So.
And more importantly,
I
if
don't
your
know his
washing
number,
machine
but-
ever breaks, No problem. You can just use his apps.
Oh yeah. Oh
that's
my
right.
God,
Yeah.
yes.
That's right.
Just scrub that thing.
I gotta tell
That's
funny
Photoshop.
story.
That's
Wait,
Photoshop.
No,
That's
that's not Photoshop. Them shits are real. I know. Okay, one time, this is how I found out. I tell everybody this damn story. Everybody that I knew. I'm
So,
like,
okay, so
What about
I
Canada?
did ask.
No,
Vic-
no,
yeah,
wait.
Let's go back to Canada. I don't want to be talking about me. Let's talk about me.
I want to talk about Dylan's abs.
What about Canada?
Who doesn't?
He won rock paper scissors. Let's go back to Canada.
All right.
After all those shout-outs, Canada's plan. I talked to little Dante Tabuyo once wanted to go. This was like one of his first major events. So I was like, yeah, I'll go with you, whatever. I'll kind of give you some guidance on how the contests work or whatever. So Reclamation got us the flights. We went out to Canada to compete. So this was the first time with the new UCI stuff. So they do.
Oh yeah.
So I had to get my pro license. So now everything is on point scale. So what's cool about it is now once you go to all these UCI events, you can actually get points to qualify into the Olympics.
That's right.
So I'm like, all right.
It's like super official now.
I'm a little older now, but I still got it in me. I'm gonna see how far I can take this.
Yeah.
So I'm like, Canada's the first major contest of the year, so let's see what happens. I'm gonna go and send it and have a good time. Hopefully I qualify. We go to Canada. What's awesome is I call Daniel Sandoval. Sandoval gets us an Airbnb. So trip starts out awesome. He sets up the whole Airbnb. His homie hooks it up, drives us everywhere.
Yeah.
Daniel picks us up from the airport. His homie ends up letting us borrow the car. We go to Joyride the first day, and it's amazing. Like literally the first 3 days, blast. Airbnb's taken care of. Food's taken care of. Everything's a lot cheaper in Canada than in the United States. It's like I think it's like
the other way around.
I think it's like 30% cheaper. So
wow.
Food was cheaper, everything. So we go to Joyride. All the top pros are in Joyride, and we end up having a major session. Literally flare whip session with Brock Horman, Daniel Sandoval, Drew Bazansen's there. I mean, all the top 10 guys.
Everyone's just going nuts.
Yeah, I'm having a great time. So I post a clip from there, and everybody's like, oh my gosh, you're killing it. You're going to kill it in the contest. So after that day, I was feeling really, really confident. I was like, all right, I'm running pretty good. I'm pretty psyched on this. Go back to the Airbnb. We get practice the next day at the actual event. I'm feeling really good in the event or on the practice, and everything is working out to my benefit. I'm like 720 to the smaller box, doing flares, doing all the tricks I want to do in practice. Like actually riding as a pro, unlike when I was younger, sending myself and hurting myself in practice, right? Contest comes. I'm feeling real confident because everybody else is super nervous, and my nerves are gone. Like every time I've competed in the last 2-3 years, I've not been nervous, and it's been really awesome. I could actually ride like we're having a normal session. And first run, so it's the best of 2 runs. Everybody rides. A lot of people riding okay, pretty average. A couple of real good guys, and then it's my turn to go. So it's the best of 2 runs. So I put down a pretty solid first run. It's pretty mellow for me. Even for me, it's pretty mellow.
You gotta get a safety run.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I did a safety run, and I was like, all right. So with these contests, you're analyzing what people are doing. I'm like, all right, this guy's doing this over this box, and he's doing this trick. So you pretty much compete to you ride, and you kind of match tricks up. So
yeah, it's fluid. You have to kind of adjust your strategy for everyone else's strategy in real time.
Right.
Which I think is something people don't realize.
So a lot of people are doing very similar tricks over the box, which I had a very similar trick to what everybody else is going to do. So I'm sitting on the top of the deck, and I had planned doing a truck driver to tail whip to start my runoff. That was my first trick. As I'm sitting, so second run, that's my first trick in my mind. And I started questioning it, which you never should do. Mm-hmm. Never, ever. And I drop in. I'm decided, I'm going to do that. And then I thought to myself, nobody's doing lawn dart fronties, and that will make me stick out as I'm pedaling towards the quarter.
Good time to make that choice. Good time to make that choice.
Terrible time to make that choice. I'm going so slow in comparison to... So that trick, you need literally like 2 more cranks, 3 more cranks, and I'm going way too slow. And I decide to send it anyway, thinking I'm going to have good luck anyway. And long story short, I sent it, came up about 6 inches short, cased, and got...
6 inches is like a lot for that.
So, cased, got thrown from... It was a 9-foot landing, by the way.
It is a huge box
9-foot landing, 6-foot takeoff, 9-foot landing, cased the top of the landing, and got ejected from the landing all the way to flat bottom concrete. And I thought I was going to roll out of it, but I ended up pretty much landing shoulder first, like I tackled the concrete, and smacked my head. And I didn't even realize I hurt my shoulder because, you know, when you smack your head, like, that was my first thing I thought about. It's like, oh, I smacked my head, rung my bell.
Insert quote here. Wait, no, insert video here.
Yeah. Smacked my head, rung my bell, and I'm like, oh, I'm still conscious. Like, rung my bell, seeing a little bit of stars, but nothing crazy. And I was like, sweet. Like, probably a very, very minor concussion, but nothing crazy. So I laid there for a sec, and then I realized the trainers come up to me, and they're like, are you all right? And then I realized my shoulder is screwed.
Yeah.
And I rolled over to get up, and I was like, can't lift my arm, can't do nothing. Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay. And
show them how, like, to where you can lift your arm when you come back.
Like, when I came back, I could only lift it this far.
Like this far?
Yeah.
So, and then I needed a lot of assistance, and somehow I got, like, so I got up.
Help him, like, put his shirt on and take it off.
Wait, so what's the difference between separated and dislocated?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so dislocated is where the actual socket, or your arm is here, you have the socket actually comes out. Separated is where you separate the tendon, or the ligaments here and your collarbone. So your shoulder's still in, but your collarbone pops up. So you actually tear the ligaments in it.
Oh, so that sounds worse.
Yeah.
Kinda. It could go both ways. It depends on how you land on it. Now, I'm gonna give you the clip so everybody can see it.
It's so vicious.
Almost caught myself. If you see it, I have my hands up, and I was gonna try to do a dive roll because I knew in the air I was gonna crash. I was like, all right, I'm gonna die. I know I'm gonna crash. Like, as soon as I took off the lip, I knew it. So, like, I was trying to prepare myself, but I was going head first towards the ground, like, at a terrible angle.
Yeah, there was no stopping tragedy as soon as you cased.
If it was more of a flip over, like, I could have rolled out of it and it'd have been fine. But I went, like, diving at the ground, and my arms just gave out, and I just shoulder checked the ground. But I seen the whole thing coming, and I even had time in the air to think about how I'm going to get out of it.
I think that's an action sports thing, though. Because every time I've had a major crash,
like, you have
I've known about it, and in real time, it feels like slow-mo, and the whole time you're just like...
That's amazing.
Sometimes, like, you really just know, like, no matter what I do, I'm getting genuinely hurt.
Yeah.
And you're just kind of along for the ride in this weird, like, slow-motion moment of, like...
Yeah.
Yep, here comes the part where clearly this is going to hit the ground, and
I've always wondered that.
Cue the bike hitting me in the face, and 1, 2, there it is. And just, like, you know it's happening.
I've always wanted to know what it's like to be... I mean, not the hurting part, but, like, in that moment, like, because he tells me, like, he thinks, like, oh, here it comes, here, and I'm like, I just want to know what's, like, going on in your head, you know what I mean?
Okay, so, like, The Matrix?
When you're doing this, like, oh, my God, it's amazing.
The Matrix is the best representation of action sports when you've been doing it a long time.
Because it's not at first. It's after you've crashed probably thousands of times in a small way, that all of a sudden when it happens in a big way.
Describe to me what it's like when you're about to fall, and you know that no matter what you do, you're going to get hurt.
Well, I personally on this one, I didn't think I was going to get hurt.
Mm-hmm. Okay, but one that you know, like, I'm about to get hurt. Like, what is...
Well, you get a feeling. Okay. Like, well, for me personally,
it's like
you
get... sense.
You're like, I'm about to get hurt, but for some reason, you're stubborn about it. You're like, oh, I'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think that's the more macho side of bike riding or action sports is like, oh, you'll be fine.
So
I've gotten lucky so many times, right? Is where I always go. I'm like, I've gotten lucky 100 times. Why wouldn't I get lucky this time?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's
so
like...
what's going on through your head, though, like, when you're about to fall? Like, are you like, oh, my God, here it comes, or like...
No, like, I don't...
Are you calm?
Maybe
real calm.
It depends on the person. But for me, I've never panicked.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Like I know when I broke my leg, I knew it was coming. Mm. And then there was no panic. There was nothing I could do, but I knew it was coming.
Yeah, it's like almost like Zen-like, at least for me. Like I remember when I broke my collarbone, as soon as I took off the lip, I was like, I bet you anything I break my collarbone.
Stop.
Like I knew it as soon as I left the lip. And then like I remember saying like, I have many options. They're all terrible. I'll try this option. And then as soon as I tried to like put a foot down, that didn't work because I hung up so bad that even then like my bike, I almost saved it, but there just wasn't enough, and the bike just tapped me that extra little bit forward. Yeah. And again, like that same like very Zen-like of just like pure acceptance. Like, yep, I'm about to definitely break either my wrist or my collarbone, and just watching the ground come and like, maybe you can roll out of it, maybe you can't, but you should certainly try. And like, it's all very calm. Like, at no point was... Yeah, like I remember feeling it, hearing it, just laying at the bottom. Everyone else is like, "Whoa, are you okay?" I'm like, "I'm certainly not. I just eloquently, like, yeah, I just broke my collarbone, gentlemen. Would you escort me to the top of the ramp so I can derobe and we can head to the nearest hospital?" Like,
exactly.
Like, yeah, it's very like calm and Zen.
Is that how you feel too when you're?
Yeah. So it took me a lot longer to think of this. We've discussed how many times I've hit my head, and so it takes me a long time to think of it. So at first when they were talking about this, I was like, I can't relate to this at all. And then after like a minute, I was like, oh wait, yeah, this exact thing happened when I was riding jumps and I like nose cased the landing, and you know it's instant. It's 1 second.
Yeah.
I mean,
Is
it's
that
like
1
point.
second? Is that
It's like
1 second slow motion?
It totally was. Now that I think about it, like from the time you're going 20 miles an hour, you hit your front tire and you hit your face. It literally,
you can literally see it happening.
Yeah.
Like you're like, oh damn, like this is gonna suck.
But now that I think about it, it really does slow down, and I was like, God damn it! Why did I do this?
In your head, you're thinking all this in 0.1 second.
I've had like entire dialogues.
It does slow down. I was
The crazy thing is, you think you can react to it.
I can't. Yeah.
But yeah, your body can't keep up. Like, there's no chance in that 0.1 second that you're gonna stick your hands out. Like, you're just dying. But it does seem longer in that time in your mind.
Yeah, I remember when I rolled my Explorer that I turned into a pre-runner, I remember I rolled it, and it was literally like straight out of a Fast and the Furious movie. Like, I saw the tire slot into this rut. I looked ahead, I saw that the rut abruptly turned, and I was like, I bet you anything that grabs this wheel, and we're about to roll, and there's nothing I can do about it. And then, sure enough, the truck, I feel it bite, and it starts flipping. Everything's in slow-mo. Like, I'm watching, like, the cups and, like, random debris from my car, like, slow-mo float through the cab as I'm just, like, whee! Like, just going upside down along for the ride and just, like, calmly, like, watching stuff as I roll. Yeah, I think it comes... I was talking to, I think, Allie about this the other day. It's a weird... Oh, she was asking me why I don't get scared to crash my bike. And she was like, I don't understand how you save yourself.
That's what I feel.
When you crash, because most of the time you really do walk out of crashes completely okay. Yeah. And she's like, I don't understand why that happens. And after a minute or two, I was like, it's because I've probably crashed 10,000 hours worth of crashing, right? Like, I've become a master at it. Like, that wasn't the goal, but I've spent so much time falling and learning and falling and learning and falling and learning and falling and learning that now it really, like, there's never any anxiety or, like, stress about it. Like, I'm either going to crash, and like Dylan said, like, dang it, like, this is happening, or your body is so trained from crashing thousands of times that it's not even a thought. Your body just does what it's supposed to do.
You stop worrying about it. That's what happens. Like, you
no
get
longer
so good
thinking.
at
It just
a certain thing that when you do crash, it's like, it's not even a big deal for the most part.
It's so crazy for me as a non-athlete, you know what I mean, to see this like to understand. It's hard, you know, to understand this part of your guys' like brain and what goes on like when you're falling.
Weird.
It's crazy.
I love.
I think I think my favorite videos are the like perspective videos. You know, like when you
like the GoPro, like a point of view.
I love it. I'm like, oh my, and I can feel like I'm there. You know, like jumping I love those because I'm like, oh my god, like he sees this and like this huge jump. Like I would flip out.
That's actually,
you know what I mean? Like,
really cool to hear because as an action sports athlete, I never like those clips.
What? Why?
Every time I'm just like,
crazy.
like
cheesy.
Like it's cheesy
No
and like,
way.
People see it
and I can't feel it. I can't feel it. Versus, it's good to know that it's just because like I'm too in it. I'm too already inside the
You already
industry.
know the feeling.
Yeah.
You already know what it looks like from your perspective,
Exactly.
so you don't
it's
want
nice to watch from afar because I'm much more concerned of like how clean did they land, how clean did they land, how big is the jump, what is the landing like. I'm like gauging like, is there something nearby that I can judge perspective over how big everything is, and like all of that is going into it versus I don't need to know what a 360 looks like from a point of view because I've done it.
Yeah, no, you're right, but I guess like,
but it's good to hear
from
that
my point
it
of
does
view,
bring people.
Oh yeah, it's amazing.
something.
It's amazing. Seriously, like sorry, Dylan. I see like when people jump and it's just like you see this huge gap, and I'm like, how in the world do you know how fast you have to go to clear this?
That's a good one.
I don't understand. I don't know. You guys are like superhuman or something because once you're doing this and you're trying to clear this, it's like how do you get here? Like
From not making it many times.
Definitely. I still get that
in the
feeling on.
world?
There's plenty of ones I get that feeling on though. Still, like Red Bull just did it was like a ski slope style contest, but then they sent the mountain biker down it. Mm-hmm. And he's like doing gnarly shit on this snow course on his mountain bike. That was insane. And then the monster contest that just happened where they're jumping like 50-foot straight up 50-foot doubles. These aren't like racer 50-footers. These are like
they're ridiculous.
Nice lippy.
like those ones where you see the point of view. I know exactly what you mean. It is crazy.
Like when I see him, I think, or I don't know if somebody did like a backflip, like a point of view, and I'm like, how do you not get dizzy? Like you
don't even see it almost.
Well, it's crazy to me.
You feel it like
it's insane.
you could almost do it blind, like just off of the feeling. You can almost do it.
The crazy part to me is, so I did a 360 flip with a GoPro on, and you don't see anything in the GoPro.
Yeah, and I'm like,
so for me, the same perspective is I have to slow down the GoPro for me to actually get the same visual that I would get physically.
Okay, but so you're not getting the visual of the GoPro. With the GoPro.
No, I put it on my helmet and I did a 360 backflip, but when I do it personally, the GoPro doesn't pick up what my eyes pick up.
Exactly. No, I totally get that, but you know,
it goes back to the slow motion thing. So like,
oh, okay,
because it's your body feels it, which allows your brain isn't trying to decipher what's going on. It already knows what's going on. So it's just kind of like picking stuff out on its own.
Okay.
Because our brains filter out most of what we see and think and hear and see. Like our brain's number one job is to get rid of things, right? So in something like a 360 flip on the GoPro at full speed is chaos versus when you feel it and not, like, you could put Trey somehow, if his eyes were closed and he did a 3 flip, and you could like that movie with Adam Sandler, Click or whatever, where you have like a life remote and you can pause life. You could pause him in any point in that flip, and he'd still know exactly where he was.
That's crazy.
So his eyes aren't telling him where he is. They're just picking stuff out because he already knows where he is. Like that's the
crazy.
difference.
That's so crazy to me. I'll never understand. Seriously, what you guys do is incredible. I
think
and you were the one calling me out for being scared of stuff.
See, I feel like you do know, and it's going back to like the introvert versus extrovert, or like someone who is more social versus not. I would be shocked if it is in any way different. If you interviewed people who they were like, how did you know that was the right thing to say? right? Like the conversation's going back and forth and everyone's talking and then all of a sudden you just had like the right thing to say and everybody laughed or found you interesting. It's the
like
same.
A comedian.
Yeah, it's
the
the
comedian
same
has
thing
the same thing as action sports, but in a whole
it's
different
just
realm.
in a conversation instead of over a jump, right? It's so like yeah. In all honesty, like I'm sure there are times Trey looks at you and he's just like, I don't understand how she's kept up with this conversation.
Yeah.
I don't understand how she knows what everyone is saying and how she's like somehow making sense of any of this. And it's
I'm too deep in a margarita to think this deep.
But yeah, I feel like
You're from Mexico. You have one margarita and you're too deep.
Wait, I'm such a lightweight.
She's 106 pounds.
yeah.
Don't tell people my weight.
Oh, my bad,
I'm trying to gain weight.
Model life.
Yeah, dude.
No, I'm not trying to be this way, you guys. It's insane.
You guys, it's not my fault. I'm just perfect the way I am.
I wish.
Bruno Mars.
Yeah.
You're amazing.
Jump on a grenade for ya. But yeah, I feel like that's something like to the Joy Quota message is like everyone has that thing that they would be the same level of good at, right? Like I remember playing video games with kids when I was little and not understanding how they were seeing stuff.
Oh my god.
But to them,
that's a whole nother.
And it's the same concept of where like
it's the same concept and a whole nother subject. Like it's crazy.
So I feel like while it's, I'm a really big believer in that while you might not know the same circumstances as other people, everyone knows the emotions, right? Like if I talk to someone who's lost someone really, really close to them, I haven't yet. And so,
I am too.
And so I used to kind of cop out and be like, oh, well, I can't relate. Versus
let me try to understand you.
Versus being like, actually, I know what it feels like to feel loss, and going from there and relating to that feeling instead of experience. Everyone tries to go off of experience instead of the actual feeling of it, right? So I feel like even though you don't know what it's like to have time slow down before you crash and break a collarbone or sever a shoulder, you're just as good at something else where time slows down and it's like a sixth sense.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's very true.
Oh, you guys.
Well, with all our shout outs, we talked about your brother Eddie.
Yeah.
We didn't shout him out. Shout out to Eddie for showing up.
Shout out to Eddie.
Shout out to Eddie for showing up to our onesie party last year in a suit with an alligator head. That was the best.
That's another thing.
Round 2 coming up.
Round 2. Yes,
we just announced it, so he better be on point this year.
Yes,
Punto.
definitely. No, I love my brother. He's definitely, this is so off subject, but I'm just gonna say this, but he is the type of guy that learns from mistakes. You know what I mean? Like by watching other people, he's not the type to like be like, oh, well, I want to know what it's like to make a mistake. You know what I mean? Like, he'll watch and be like,
that sounds so much better.
He's like, I don't want to do that. You know what I mean? And I'm like, oh. And I tell him this story all the time. I don't know why I've always been like this. I remember when I was little in Mexico, I was like about 5 years old. And so, what are those little things like that have like, they sparkle? Like
Sparklers.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, that was pretty awesome.
Como se dice sparkler? It's a firework.
Okay, so anyway, my grandma had a sparkler, and they were really popular in Mexico, and so she had a sparkler, and it was bright red after it turned off, and it was like bright red, and I was looking at it, and my grandma's like, don't touch it, because it's gonna burn your hand, and I was like, let me see.
Yeah.
I put my whole hand around the thing.
That's amazing.
And I scream and let it go. Well, I had like all burn marks like around my hand. And so my brother is more like, nah, I believe you. You know what I mean? And so I love that about him, like that he's like, I believe you. Like I know I don't have to do it, like to know that it hurts. You know what I mean?
Eddie's
pretty smart.
He's smart.
Eddie's street smart. Yeah.
And like I remember Trey, like when they lived with us, Eddie would come and he was like, Trey was like, Eddie, don't you ever have homework? And he's like, for what? He's like, I already know everything. I'm like,
yeah, he wouldn't study.
it's crazy.
I was like, how you passing?
On time.
Because I did that. I tried to do that once, and no.
See, I can relate to that.
Extremely smart. So shout out to my brother.
I was the same way though in school. I don't think I did more than 4 hours of homework freshman to senior year.
That's insane.
Yeah,
Total,
come to my
right?
school.
Total. Genuinely. I don't remember doing a single piece of homework.
I cheated every day of my life in high school, and I still probably did 4 hours of homework a night.
It's the only reason. Yeah, it just something about a multiple choice test makes sense to me. Where like
Well, you had the good teachers because I did not.
it wasn't even that.
No,
like,
it's his brain, babe. Like, it's just how your brain.
It's just like Eddie. We're like, I didn't need it.
Hear me out real quick. Half of my teachers were like, homework matters, so you have to pass this, and then the test was 50% of your grades.
I failed classes because I didn't do homework.
But
I failed a class where I got a 96 on the final and never got less than a 90 on any of the tests.
Yeah, exactly.
I got
That's how Eddie
like a
was.
61% in the class. I barely passed it.
Yeah, because of your test, they saved you.
No.
Oh.
Yeah, the test is what saved me.
And that's
I
how
didn't
Eddie
do
was.
any homework.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly how Eddie was.
That's why I couldn't go on the trip to the Ohio
Ohio.
gym.
Yeah.
And
That's literally
how Eddie
why.
Was. He was like, I don't need to do my homework. I'm just going to pass the test. He passed the test, passed the class.
Yeah, Eddie's the
insane.
best. And he's so fly.
He's so fly.
He's so fly.
Fly.
Yeah.
Fly.
Anyway,
So-
Canada was awesome.
That was the greatest callback.
Back to that Canada story.
Man, I feel like you guys have been through so many different adventures
Oh my
and so many
goodness.
different
Yeah.
amazing stories.
This is not
Tell
enough
us just
time to
tell us like one story, just for funsies. Like, is there anything that comes to mind?
Well, I was going to bring it up, and then we kind of just went all over the place. But
That doesn't sound like us at all. This is the most
doesn't
linear
at all.
podcast.
you talked about
that's ever been.
Winter Park when we got
Oh,
married.
you talking about me?
No, I'm not talking about you at all.
Okay, good.
We ran out
For
of
the first
gas
time ever.
on the way to Winter Park.
What?
Yes. So
Wait, what? Say that again?
we ran out of gas.
Oh my God! Yes.
On your second day of marriage or
Yeah,
your first day of
exactly.
marriage?
In the Z, right?
In the Z.
Yeah.
Oh, and after that, I got another one.
Okay, so we get married. My dad was like, "Yeah, I'll put gas in your car so you guys could do your thing. I'll bring the car over to you." And I was like, "Cool, perfect."
Wait, tell him what car it was.
It's the 300Z.
Beautiful.
Oh,
yeah.
that's an awesome car.
One of these days we're gonna get it back because that is a sentimental car to
Same.
To
our
us.
relationship. Anyway, he goes to put gas in it. So the car had been sitting for some time, and I guess it had a lot of pressure in the gas tank. So when he went to put gas in it, it wouldn't allow him to fill it up past a quarter tank. So he thought that
was
the
full.
gas gauge did not work and it was full. So he brought it to us, and I was like, and I just believed him. I didn't second guess
wouldn't
it.
you?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That was your wedding present? A quarter tank of gas?
So the next day we had shows with Yellow in Winter Park. And we're like, all right, we get up to go to Winter Park, start driving, get, almost there?
Almost there. I think we were like about maybe 15, 20 minutes, give or take.
Yeah. And we run out of gas on the mountain.
On
Yeah,
the
I was gonna say for
mountain.
anyone who isn't
the-
from Colorado, there is nothing 15 minutes away from
Thank
Winter Park.
you.
Like you're on the middle of like a 7-degree slope.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
have to go real uphill and then it goes real downhill. But so you guys ran out
Exactly.
on the real uphill.
On the
Uphill.
real uphill.
Yeah.
So we've stopped and we ran out of gas, and I was like, I remember seeing a gas tank or a gas station. I don't know how far down, but I think we can make it if we coast down.
Yo.
So what I did, and this was super sketchy, but we ride BMX
Sketchy.
and do sketchy things. I was like, I don't know, did I warn you or what did I say?
I don't remember. You were just like, we're just gonna go downhill. Don't freak out. If you see cars, I got it. So.
Okay, so with that being said,
Because, yeah, you're not stopping on the brakes.
You're not.
I imagine.
Exactly.
You're not. And he's like, I'm not stopping on the brakes. We're just gonna go around. He's like, and.
In reverse?
I started out in reverse.
Yeah.
That's where I was gonna go.
What? You J-turned with no
we
power?
were on the hill.
It's like a movie. You wouldn't believe this. Like,
No lie,
you-
on the hill, and then I was just like, this is how it's gonna be. We're gonna send it right now. Put it in neutral, let it go backwards, and we got started. This is like 50 miles an hour. I swung it around, got on the right side of the road, and then we coasted Literally, probably it was like 11 miles
down
Yeah.
you guys.
to the next gas station, and we barely made it by like 10 feet.
10 feet.
Okay, for people that don't understand this, it is one of the most windy passes you could ever imagine, and then it just it ends. Like it's probably 5 miles from where this pass ends to this town. And I can't even imagine you making that because it goes on so long.
Well, and the
It was a
powerless
miracle.
J-turn is unbelievable
that's so
through
true.
traffic.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, literally, I just
no
said
power
It
steering,
was a
no nothing.
miracle.
So
I
you
don't
Just
know.
flying
I don't
around
know.
cars.
We were
I mean,
full
like,
speed.
Screw it.
full
Damn,
speed,
that is-
no brakes. I didn't touch the brakes. I didn't touch anything. I just steered it,
That's what's up.
and we made it within 10 feet of the gas pump.
And so yeah, I stayed in the car, watched the car.
I
while he
vaguely
walked
do
and
remember
everything.
this. I don't remember a lot of that
I never
day
heard this
because
story, but
I
It's
crashed
crazy.
very
It's
hard at the
crazy.
stunt
Because I
show.
remember I came up and you were like, "Nice, see, my dad used to have one." And
Yeah,
that's really vaguely what I remember. And I told Yellow about it, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, that's crazy. That's totally Yellow style."
Yeah, Yellow's probably like, yeah, I did that this morning. I
Yeah.
did
Yeah,
that
I
once
know.
a week.
In the
Yeah,
school bus.
yeah.
Yeah.
With no tires on it.
Yeah. I was just on the steel the whole way.
Yeah, it's
Dude,
crazy.
that's
And
awesome.
then after that, like our marriage, like the beginning of our marriage was kind of tough. You know what I mean? Like being broke and young, and you know all these things. And so
okay, there's a whole nother level of that. We got married literally after doing that show. Maybe like a couple days later, I lost my job.
after the show, so we got married, went to the show, that happened, loses his job.
Yeah, in like less than a week.
So this is your first week of marriage. And
Exactly.
That's,
It was insane.
Like, all right,
It was-
let's
it
test
was-
this right away.
Like right away, let's put all
Yeah.
this, whatever
Like,
comes
how,
after.
how much pressure can you really take? We got a fresh
Yeah.
apartment. We got a new
We had
car.
just signed our lease to our new apartment, like the car, we just got everything, and then it's like, oh, well, no, you don't have a job anymore. And so,
What are you gonna do?
yeah.
Literally, and this is why it's so sentimental. We got married in that car. I sold that car. And then I bought a cheaper car, and then I also had a bunch of car parts at my parents' house that I sold. And we still stayed at our apartment for
For 5 months.
5 months and lived and had
Off of
another car
parts.
and had car parts, paying bills while I was looking for a job.
Wow.
And he didn't get a job for 5 months.
Dude, I know the feeling.
It's crazy.
Right after Allie and I started getting serious, work dried up at the job that I was at. Like, I didn't lose it so much as like there just wasn't work. And for like 5 months, I was just like slowly getting
Crazy. It
more and
seems
more
like that
behind, and
5
like,
month period,
all right,
like-
babe, I'm just gonna eat rice this week. Don't worry about it. And then just
Yeah,
like,
and I remember my mom like coming in and bringing us like bags of groceries, and like we were just, I mean, our family was always there, you know, and like blessed
We were
us
real
and
broke
stuff.
though, like
We were so
lots of
broke.
rum. We had every flavor of rum.
Every
Yeah.
flavor. We, like for us, like Little Caesars was like specialty, like
Yeah.
meal.
Date
you know
night.
what I mean? Date night with Little Caesars at the park, like you know.
In all honesty,
Bro,
it was one of the
bro,
best
bro.
times because it
Yes.
showed us who we really were.
Yeah.
And like that we actually had to rely on each other.
Yeah.
And then the fact that it was our apartment and we could do whatever we want, even though we were completely broke, it didn't matter how broke we were. We had each other, and it was great. So
See,
And
that
that's
was
just what it
exactly
is.
what I wanted to
Yeah.
say. Is
Yeah,
you
yeah.
guys were a perfect example of the joy quota. We believe that joy and adventure and fun can be found literally anywhere, no matter what your circumstances.
Exactly.
There were literally dozens of very valid reasons why you should have been bummed and down on yourselves.
Yeah, yeah.
But instead you're like, hell yeah, boo! We just got $10. We each getting Little Caesars date
I
night.
know.
we
Let's go.
had $40 for the week for food.
Yeah,
$40
For
been
both
there.
of us.
I was working for
Shout out to those
about,
Pete's cards.
Like,
They did
Yeah.
come through a couple times.
Yeah.
That's exactly
I've totally
why
been there like,
say
Allie,
that.
I love you so much. Let's go on a date night. Where do you want to go? Pete's.
Pete's.
That's the only place place I want to take you is Pete's. I really want to go to Pete's.
You can eat as much as you want.
Because, like, without Pete's, there would have been times we would not have eaten.
That was also the year I went to Do Tour as well.
Oh my gosh,
And
that is true. I remember that.
Went to Do Tour, no food, and so I was I won the free flow tour.
That's right.
And then I was super hype on that because everything was paid for, so I didn't have to worry about paying for food or nothing. And then AJ and I actually came and I just let him stay in my room for free.
Yeah.
And then I snuck him onto the Do Tour course so he could ride with all of us.
That's awesome.
So that was awesome. And so he I literally brought him in with me on all the food, everything. He was in there for free for everything.
Yeah. Oh wait, shout out to AJ and I, wherever you are. Thank you for doing a bunch of things for Trey as well. We love you.
Exactly.
You're the real MVP.
Keep them Jordans clean.
yes.
So all of this craziness it was the start of my pro BMX career and being broke and being married and all of it all at once and trying to train. Woodward closed that year too.
Yeah.
It was a crazy time.
That wasn't nuts here. I mean, what were the things that you guys focused on to make sure that you guys still met the joy quota and you guys still filled your tanks up? Because, like I said, it would have been really easy for you guys to get down on yourselves, but instead, Trey won a contest. He was out there doing his thing, you were out there doing your thing, and you guys were still having fun, and you made it, versus I think a lot of people would have been like, marriage is supposed to make me so happy, and instead, now we're both broke and we're eating ramen.
You know, I think for me personally is, of course, that the love that you have for each other, and the fact that, this makes me emotional, but the fact that your family legit never leaves you. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, your family is just there for you. You know what I mean? And your friends, because I guess along the way, we've just made amazing friends. You know what I mean? Like you guys, and, some of my friends too. It's just just those relationships. The people, care about the people that are in your life. You know what I mean? Because you just never know when you're going to need from them or when they're going to need for you. You know what I mean? And so it's just keep those people that love you close to you and appreciate that friendship. You know what I mean? As much as you can, because you just never know what might happen or when you need from each other, and I feel that's us, our family and our friendship and just each other, you know what I mean? No matter what, I've always tried to keep the joy, try to keep it spontaneous as well, you know what I mean? I feel just because you're married, people see marriage as such a bad thing, you know what I mean? They look at it oh, you're married, your life must be boring, or you might, you know what I mean? And I'm nah, that's my best friend, you know what I mean? I feel it's about friendship, you know what I mean? I see him as my husband, but overall, he's my friend. He's my best friend. And I feel if you would never get tired of your best friend, you know what I mean? Sometimes you do, of course, but at the end of the day, that's always going to be your best friend, you know what I mean? And so they get on your nerves and they do all these things, but that's your best friend, and I feel it's important to have that friendship more than a marriage, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I remember I called a lot of people when I had the realization that I was gonna marry Allie. It was a couple weeks after we met, and I was just well, what do I do? I don't, because like you said, there's such a stigma of life's over because you got married, or
life's over, and it's nah.
You're giving up a lot of things. And so I remember having probably 12 very panicked calls with many people of
oh my God,
dude, I feel I'm losing my independence. I feel what if such and such happens, or what if this happens, or how do I know that something better won't be there, or all these weird silly questions looking back, but at the time were very real. And someone, and I wish I could remember who, I want to say it was my buddy Ryan Rosenfelder, was just have you ever gotten bored on your BMX bike? And I was no. And he's tell me what it was as soon as you saw BMX. And I was that moment, I was this is what I want to do for the rest of my life.
That's amazing.
And he was and it hasn't gotten boring yet. And I was no, there's always something new I can learn. There's always something new I can try. I can always do old trick in a new place. I can always do it with new friends. I can always try a new skate park. I've never once gotten bored of riding my bike.
That's amazing.
And it's why would you get bored of being married? And ever since then, it just changed the perspective of it actually opened up the door to a lot of new things that I never would be able to do single. Or in a kind of committed relationship, right? Where there's a level.
I remember your kind of what's it called? Committed relationships.
Yeah.
He's like, don't bring that up. This is about you guys right now.
Shout out to Allie, you the real MVP.
Yeah, absolutely. But I feel like you said, spontaneous decision making and spontaneous fun is such a big part of filling the joy quota.
Exactly.
Even in a job, right? Let's take it out of for people that are single. You don't have to be in a relationship, right? Go do spontaneous stuff.
Exactly.
The other day. This has nothing to do with our relationship. We were dog sitting, and Allie was like, I'm going to go run the dog in the rain. And I was like, you're dumb. Why would you do that? And she's like, I want to go run the dog in the rain. And so she took the dog, and she came back just so full of joy and so pumped up. And the house smelled like wet dog, but she was happy. And
he's like, and she was soaking wet. I saw her walking.
No, she stole my raincoat, so she was bone dry. But it was just so...
Don't lie, Gavin. Trying to keep this PG over here.
And we've never kissed, and so we don't touch, and so we
kind of hold hands sometimes.
Yeah, it's true. There's completely separate bedrooms.
Yeah,
we're married, but
I know
it's just a paper thing.
So what kept your joy throughout that time? Bike.
Yeah, well, riding definitely helped. I mean, even to this day, she could tell when I haven't rode, and she hates me if I don't go ride.
Does she yell at you to go ride?
Ride. You're getting on my nerves.
Oh my gosh, go ride your freaking bike. I can tell. You need to go ride your bike.
Yeah, I've gotten that a couple times.
Yeah.
Allie, so that was a big part of this year. Allie was like, you have to tell me how often you're committed to riding your bike, because I want to see you on it more often this year, because last year with my collarbone taking so long to heal and just weather and all this other random stuff, it just didn't end up becoming a priority for me. And she was like, I'd like you better once you've ridden.
Because that's our stress relief. So,
and we know that. It's crazy.
We are a better person after doing what you like to do for a certain amount of time versus not ever doing what you like to do, and then they have to deal with us. And it's like we're on our period 100% of the time.
Don't go and do drugs. Go ride your bike. I promise you, it'll make you feel better.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't do drugs.
My problem is I ride too soon, even though I'm injured, and she hates that.
Yeah. Shout out to my gigantic ram's horn coming off starboard on my collarbone. The same problem.
We're in the same boat.
But I mean, it goes back to it doesn't have to be in a relationship, right? I show up much better the day after a podcast at my job than I do in between a Joy Quota video or a podcast.
Oh, that's nice.
Everything is just blah, 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 blah. And then today I'm all pumped all day and I'm itching to come do what I love. Yeah. And then we get to do something awesome record a podcast with you guys. And then the day after I'm way more chipper in the morning and I'm doing better work and I'm just more pleasant to be around. Mm-hmm. And I think that's something that people... That's our whole mission is make sure you fill the joy quota. There's a joy quota. You have to meet it or you're just not going to be your best self. No matter what arena you step into next. Right? Personal, professional, in a relationship, creatively. All of my best ideas come after I've ridden my bike or we've filmed a video or done a podcast. And then I just all of a sudden have this extra... special juice.
Yeah,
I'm pumped.
that. Yeah.
all of a sudden I'm just capable of a lot that I wasn't before.
Exactly. It's the same. Like after I do a fashion show, I come home and that's all I talk about. I'm like, and then we did this, and then I walked out.
And it was so awesome, and then the lady did my makeup so good this time.
And then like I walked out there, and everybody
all the girls killed it.
And
I'm about to get hella photos.
Yeah, and like the girls just did amazing and all this stuff. And it's like, I remember one time too, you just gotta be positive, you know what I mean? I remember one time, so the agency that I started for, he was filming me. It was like right by the bathroom, and Trey asked me a question, and he's like, which one of the girls do you like the most? And I was like, I love all of them. I'm like, all of them are just like amazing. They each have their own like walk. They each have their own style and stuff. I didn't know that the guy, you know, the one for the
main owner,
one of the people from the agency
was there, and he bust like after he's done, he busts out of the corner, and he's like, good response. I was like, what?
I was gonna say that's the most Viv thing I can picture. Is like, you know, everybody's wonderful and they're cool and they're cool.
And I just didn't know, you know what I mean? And I'm like, just be positive about everybody, you know what I mean? Like, look for good things in people. We have way too many negative things in the world.
Oh yeah, them YouTube comments.
You know, oh my gosh, like we already, there's so much negativity that you can find a flaw in everything. I have so many flaws. We all do, but for what? You know what I mean? Like, just look at the good things. Everybody has something good in them. Everybody. And if I can sit here and nitpick everything about me, I'll have this huge list. You know what I mean? And I'm like the worst critic about myself, but like he's helped me to try to be better and kind of look at what's good instead of what's bad about me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just brings me down. Gives me anxiety. You know?
Yeah, what's negative is always available because it's just easier to get to. And that's why I think the bang for the buck, like you said, like it would have been really easy for you to nitpick someone.
Exactly, like, this girl does this,
instead you're like, you've kind of trained yourself to be like, no, I'm going to think the best in everyone. And so before long, all of a sudden you were like, yeah, I actually really admire this person's walk and this person's makeup and this person, this person just has that vibe. And the owner of the agency came up like, hey, good response.
It was like crazy.
And
like he was listening and he was like around the corner. Like, remember he just came out and I was like, oh crap, I was like, oh my gosh. And I was like, I was not thinking something negative, but I'm like, thank goodness I didn't like give a
terrible response or something.
Like something. So it's just like always look for something positive in someone and good things come back to you. I truly believe that you reap what you sow.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. I mean, I feel like that's your personality, though, and I think that's all of our personality. If we can like spread that to other people, is the goal. Because, like, you know, I watch a video and like, if I don't like it, I'll just turn it off. Like,
you don't have to say something.
Yeah, who cares? Who gives a shit? Like, if you're doing your thing, like, I don't
just because it wasn't for me doesn't mean I have to make a fuss. Like I'll watch something.
But so many people do. Yeah. So I mispronounced a word today on one of the. Yesterday I posted a video this morning and some guy called me out on it. So to make light of it, I just made a joke. I was like, oh no, I didn't realize I made that mistake. I'm sorry, I'll never do it again. Like super sarcastic then. But he never responded. But I get these kind of comments all the time, like where they'll nitpick and like, why do you care?
Like, we're humans.
You took the time to type this out and you care about it and like it's like, why do you care? I don't comment on somebody's video that I dislike, like, oh, terrible video or whatever the case is, you know.
Yeah, it's like we're humans. We're all make mistakes. I've learned that for sure, you know.
Yeah, and we've all got like tiny victories as well, right? Like we all make mistakes and there's all the victories as well. Like we were talking about earlier, like you can't relate to time slowing down before a crash. Like there are people who can't relate to just knowing the right thing to say at the right time in a conversation or what it's like to model something. Like that's a really intense moment where like you're probably everything's in slow motion and you're like aware of like I'm on this foot and then Because I remember being like hella drunk in Mexico, learning how to like catwalk properly. Where like there's a very specific step. If you end with one foot, you turn a specific way. If you end with the other foot, you turn a specific way.
I remember we were doing that one day. You know what? It's crazy. I guess, thank you. I didn't realize that, because once you're out, like, you come out, you're behind the stage, and as soon as you come out, it's like everything's just like, you know what I mean? And you're just like walking and nothing matters. It's like slow motion and everybody, I guess I could relate a little bit.
Yeah, well, that's kind of the point, is everyone has something they're that good at. Even
I'm not great. I got a lot to learn. No, guys, seriously, I'm not that good, but I'm still learning.
But that's the point, right? Like, even someone where you're like, it could be hard to maybe find a reason to like them or a reason to think positive about them. Yes. Or to encourage them, or even to just like be kind. It's just remember, like, there's something they are that good at. Mm-hmm. Even if it's not something you would ever think of, like, there's something they're genuinely that good at.
Yeah.
So at a bare minimum, they're at least that valuable. And as soon as you can see value in someone, you have such a new perspective that you can treat them with, and that you can encourage them, or you can bring them on to collaborate, and all of a sudden, instead of typing a terrible YouTube comment, all of a sudden you found a way to actually push the ball forward a little bit closer to the end zone, and everybody wins.
Sorry, go ahead, Dylan.
Oh, I was just going to say, it's a bummer that people need to be told that.
I know! Oh my gosh,
it is true.
It's like, why? You know what I mean?
We're in a negative society. So
we are, and everybody's
it's easier to see the negative than it is the positive. Because everybody's a reflection. So, like, if I see something that you're good at but I'm not, it's easy for me to hate myself or to hate on you for what you're not good at, you know? And I've noticed that with bike riding. Like, you go to these contests and you could see the guys like, oh, he was sketchy there, but you know they can't necessarily do that particular trick or whatever it is.
That's where Indian Giver came from.
Yeah.
For people who don't know, it's when you spin one way, land backwards, and then spin out a different way. But
which is
it means nothing. I mean, it means nothing, and it just one day became like this huge thing in BMX, where now like people could do like the craziest trick, and if they spin the wrong way
my gosh,
all of a sudden the trick was pointless, and everyone gets all upset over this very minute detail, instead of being like, wow, I can't believe you sent that or tried that or landed that.
There's one other thing I want to say. It's like, learn to laugh at yourself. To be honest with you, I'm just like, learn to laugh at yourself, because it's like, I don't know, everybody's so sensitive about a lot of things now, and it's just like, I make dumb mistakes, you know what I mean, or whatever. It's just like, oh yeah, I have flaws too, and you know what I mean. Everybody does. It doesn't matter. We're all human.
Laugh it off. Sure.
I've learned to put it all out there. If I made a mistake, I made a mistake.
Yeah, whatever. Exactly. That's and he's like, I made a mistake.
Like, then you can't just call me out on it. I'm like, I already know. So whatever you gotta say.
I told you I made the mistake.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever you gotta say, I'm like, I already know about it, so it's whatever.
Yeah.
So.
For sure. It's crazy.
Well, we always like to end by asking what joy means to you, or what comes to mind when you think of the word joy or joy quota. It doesn't have to be like a grand piece of story or anything like that. Like, literally sometimes it's just like, my dad's cooking.
Yeah.
Or like, it's literally just like a fun place to end, and just an easy way to say thank you is just to bring light on what that is. So when you think of the word joy or joy quota, what comes to mind?
Well, it's her overall personality and how she treats me and stuff. So, like, I've never had, even with my own personal family, I've never had the support that she's given me by anyone. So that means a lot to me.
Oh, that's so sweet. Wait, I don't have that. I was thinking outside.
She was like, that margarita you just gave me?
That dusty ass margarita? Yep.
No, I tell her all the time, but her support, like, because you guys know personally, like, trying to figure it out.
Y'all know his exes, so. No, I'm just kidding.
Trying to figure it out is really difficult. especially for a lot of dudes or whatever, mid-20s going on 30s now, like trying to figure out what you want to do in your life and you don't have that support backing, it's really difficult.
Yeah.
And to have that, allows you to grow and focus, and it's huge.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I've heard it summed up from another friend. He was talking about he doesn't care about anything in life as long as he knows what his wife thinks of him. As long as she knows, and not what she thinks of him, but that she thinks something of him. Mm-hmm. He's like, I don't care if I was under a bridge with $0 to my name, if my wife thought something of me,
that's so sweet.
I could make it happen.
That's sweet.
And I think that's just like a universal rule for people, but yeah, that's really awesome.
Well, to me, it's the number one man in my life, which is Jehovah God. And, because without God, I wouldn't be here today. And so, second of all, of course, is my husband and my family and my friends. I don't know, the love that I have for my friends is huge. You know what I mean? Like for all of my friends, I feel like my love for them is just huge, and it's like family. It's like family without being family. You know what I mean? And
it's on purpose family is what I call it.
Yeah. And of course, like his support, because he's always there, like to just push me to step outside of the box. You know what I mean? I've done things that I never thought I could possibly do. You know what I mean? Like I never thought that I would step out and try modeling, to try pictures, to try do this, to try to start my business, you know what I mean? And so you always need, you need someone to be there and be like, hey, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this. And so I feel the same way as him, like to, just his support and pushing me and believing in myself, you know what I mean? When I didn't have anybody else to believe in me, so. Yeah, I think that's what it is.
That's sweet.
Yes.
All right, so we'll cut now.
Yes.
What were you originally thinking of?
Oh, probably just
Her mom's
tequila.
cookies.
Tequila. My mom don't make no cookies.
I was throwing stupid.
My number one, what I'm thankful for, or what you asked, sorry.
What were you originally
Joy.
When you think of joy, the
What
original
brings
thing.
me joy?
You heard Trey and clearly change it. What did you think first?
Fashion.
Cool. Just so you know, we're not cutting any of that. And that's what brought me joy, is trickery and surprise.
Fashion, and I love tequila. Thank you, tequila, because you just make me feel good inside and happy, and and of course my husband.
You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for joining us. This has been so much fun.
Thank you. I'm so excited.
This was fun.
Happy that we did this.
Good
seriously.
Conversation.
That was good.
It's awesome.
I feel like we
don't. I think everybody
for
except for my wife has broken their shoulder, so don't break your shoulder.
Yeah, that's right.
Let's break my shoulder.
That's actually the final part of the Joy Quota experience. We're going to initiate you tonight.
You got to do a dive 10 foot off the ground, straight to concrete.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're putting Gavin in a room with nothing or whatever.
Yeah.
24-hour challenge, Gavin.
If people would be interested in it, I would do it. I really think you should hide a camera. Just one. Like if you hit a camera. I bet if you hit a camera 1 out of 5 tries, one of them would literally be hours of me just losing my mind, and it would be the funniest footage of all time.
That's hilarious.
We don't have... I don't know if I have the capability to hide a camera. We need to do a live stream of 24 hours in a room, this room.
But if I know that there's someone watching, it's different. Because then I'm no longer by myself. I'm no longer alone.
That's true. Like, you have to put up a show.
Well, what if he says, no, never mind, now that I'm telling you, you're going to know there's a camera in here.
But that's what I'm saying, is like, that's really what the difference is once I really feel genuinely alone, I just become this. It's like
completely different person.
It's like being a caged animal.
Do you see opera too?
All the time.
Okay.
Like I'll just do the weirdest stuff, and like I'll just be like sitting trying to accomplish something, and then all of a sudden, it's like a form of anxiety, I guess. I'll just like I can't do this anymore, and then I'll just like run around the house screaming. Literally, not like.
That is so
I'll
funny.
literally just be like,
sounds like me.
ah! but for like 5 minutes, just running in circles around the house, and then like I'll go jump on the couch, or I'll just like sit and like punch dance moves for 5 minutes. Like I just lose my mind. Mm-hmm. It's like a weird form of anxiety. I remember in high school.
A weird form of anxiety.
Yeah, like I remember in high school I had to learn to be alone because I was having these horrible relationships.
Really?
One of them was who you were thinking
of. That one chick, yeah.
Yep, and
which we shall not name on this podcast.
No, she's doing great. She's really turned her life around. I'm proud of her.
Good.
But so no joke, I remember we broke up, and
I think we're still friends on Instagram.
I remember realizing I had a problem with being alone. And I forced myself, because my dad would work late and my sister was never home.
Oh my gosh.
And I would literally force myself to go home after work, and I wouldn't go ride, and I wouldn't go talk to anybody. And I did it for almost a whole month. And I would just, there was no music, no TV, no nothing. And I would just sit with my hands under my legs on the couch in absolute silence and just have panic attacks.
What the
for
heck,
hours
Kevin?
to try, because I was like, I need to be able to be alone. Like, that's a human skill. Like, I need.
Well, being alone is not just sitting there completely quiet in isolation.
But that was my thing. Is like, but that was kind of my thing. Is like, if I can do that, then I can be alone and functional in any situation, right? So like, I just swung the pendulum as hard as I could to the other side, and like, I have to be okay with this, and then. After like a month, I finally felt like I was like, I think I can finally be like a normal human again, and I can go like interact without having like a weird panic of after this interaction's done, I'm alone.
Yeah.
And having like anxiety about it.
Okay.
So
I have to go to the bathroom. Let's do it.
I know, me too. I gotta be.
Peace out. One love.
All right.
One love.
Peace out, everybody.